See, Joshua was leading the people into the promised land. Are you ready? Jesus wants to lead us into the promised life. See, if there was anybody that needed unleashed hope, it was Joshua and Caleb. See, they had got to see the promised land, but they didn't get to go in. See, God had the promised land because there was 10 spies that rebelled and were fearful, all except Joshua and Caleb. But Joshua and Caleb also had to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. See, rebellion and fear against God and God's promises brings the opposite of the abundant life. Instead, you have so many difficulties and emptiness and stress, and your life is just hard. But see, if you don't believe the promise, how could you get that? Enjoy the promise. See, that doesn't sound like Jesus saying, hey, okay, I want you to get saved, and then I want you to wander around the wilderness for 40 years. No. We can go somewhere quicker, better, and faster if someone else has already been there, right? But we're at a stage in life as a church and everybody else, we're somewhere we've never been. I'm excited because I think God can do just as great or greater things, even what's going on in the world, than any other time. It just proves what God said. He says, look, there's going to be times like this, but when there's times like this, there's also going to be a great outpouring of the Spirit. I want to be part of that, amen? Your proclamation, negative or positive, will greatly determine your destiny. That's why it's so important that your predictions for the future are based on God's promise, not the problem you might be facing. The devil wants to separate us, get us in isolation where he can bring desolation. Jesus wants to bring us together where we can have abundant life. You got to believe the promises, but you got to act on them. This is where the problem comes in. Listen, God gives us all these promises, but we still have to act on the promise. Let me give you an example. God tells us to tithe, amen? But a lot of people don't act on it. And he says, listen, I'll take care of you if you do. We have to push through and come to church. God said to be kind to people. Sometimes we're just ugly. See, God gives us a lot of promises, but we got to act on them too if we want to enjoy the abundant life. This is the biggest difference why some Christians are having victorious and some don't. See, they got the promises of God. They're facing the same thing, the same problems, but yet some are having this victorious life and some are not. Today, it's not so much the promised land. You ready? It's helping get people saved. Part of that is how we behave around the unsaved.